Hello everyone, this is Prey 2017-2020 here, and I wanted to try something really different, like really different from the usual playthroughs. I made a presentation over I am making a presentation over the history of home video game consoles. Um, for now I only have you know, maybe like 15 slides of it done. It's going to be a lot longer than that by the end. So what I'm going to do is when I get to like checkpoints of it, I'm going to record a video and then keep working. Eventually I'll probably just combine all the videos into one or a big compilation. That'll probably be like at least 2 hours long at this rate. Yeah, I kind of just had to just casually casually wanted to make this for some reason, probably to just get used to making presentations and reading them out. It this is not very professional. I don't have citations. I don't have sources. I don't need them. I'm not getting paid tenure for this. So, uh, anything I don't anything I don't remember was probably gone off Wikipedia. Most of the images are sourced there too, just because they have the best renders. And I probably double checked a lot of stuff that I remember from Wikipedia too. So that's the best source I got. Some of the images aren't, I just got them from the web. Probably super easy to reverse search them if you really want to find them. But yeah, before we get into the actual history of consoles, of home video game consoles to be exact, gotta start off with what in fact is a console. Um, I'm sorry, I just realized this console here is inside the cartridge slot of this one. That freaked me out. I, oh my god, this one too. I just realized that. This is a horrible image. That's like, oh my god. Anyways, it's so what a console is, to put in the most simplest way that I could think of, is an electronic device that in fact plays video games. That's, as we're going to see, that's a very broad definition, but it works for now. We can dissect it later. What the console's actually going to do to accomplish that is it's going to take data from a game storage device, a CD, a cartridge, a DVD and Blu-ray too, some kind of storage device like a hard drive. It's going to render that with its computing power, and then it's going to project it onto some sort of display, a screen, like almost always a screen, but how it displays it is going to be different depending on its video output, stuff we don't care about yet. Um, they're mostly going to be dedicated to, in fact, playing video games. Kind of the whole reason they're made. But what that means is it's going to have not too much multimedia function. It's not going to be able to do too much outside playing video games. Modern video game consoles definitely have a bit of multimedia function. They can play movies, stream, like Netflix, Hulu, stuff like that. Use the internet, browse the web sometimes. But you're not running Microsoft Word on an Xbox anytime soon, I would think. Uh, and we'll come back to multimedia function to define consoles even better in a bit. Um, they are, another way to define them is they are technically home computer. And the best way to describe their niche in a home computer market is that they're made to be as simple as possible and therefore promote user experience over trying to put together a real computer. And the fact that you can just, how do you get a console to work? You plug it into a wall, you plug it into a screen, and you turn it on, you get a controller connected to it, and you're using a console. Not that simple with other ways to play video games. Also, compared to, say, a personal computer, they're a lot more affordable. Like, consoles these days run for $500. A computer of the same power level probably sells for about 800. Now, of course, when you do that, when you make that price comparison, multimedia function comes back. Well, you can do a lot more with a computer. That's for later. But that's what consoles are made to be. They're made to be a very simple, easy way to play games. With these images here on the left, is going to be the current generation of video game consoles. It will be outdated in less than a year with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out. But that's what we have as of early 2025. PlayStation 5, the Nintendo Switch, the Xbox Series S and X. This being I probably should point them out. PlayStation 5, Switch, Series S and X. Over here, we kind of just have a bundle of consoles. They look like they range from this one coming out in 1985 and the Switch from 2017. There's no like there's not the like official ninth generation consoles in this, but we also have some handhelds up here, uh, which are going to be. I'm going to mention them again, but I'm probably going to make a separate presentation for them, just because they're really their own market. And over here's a funny one I put in. Something I had as a kid, a freaking VTech edutainment, however you say it, console. It runs like it came out in like the mid 2000s, I think, and it runs like something from the early 90s, but kind of goes to show that, uh, wow, these days we focus on only these consoles. There's a lot more that can come out in between. Not so much these days. Uh, the big three, as these are called, have kind of pushed everyone else out. But yeah, some weird stuff slips through the cracks and appeals to a different kind of market. Now, to better define a home video game console, it's probably best to compare it to other things in the video game industry that play games. So here I have some comparisons between a home video game console and a handheld console. And these two examples here, both came out during the early 2010s, I think. They came out pretty close together. They're part of the same generation, I would say. So I did that because, if I got something from like the 80s and something from 2020s, uh, I just think it's better to have the same time period shown when comparing these. So a home console is going to be a part of a system. That system being made up of the power, the thing that does the rendering, and the display, as I mentioned earlier. Console is going to be the thing doing the rendering. So it'll be hooked up to a screen and hooked up to a power supply. Oh, power source. It has a power supply in it. While a handheld console is going to have all that within itself. It's going to have power source via the batteries. It'll have the computing power, and then it will have a display in itself. So like here, console is going to have plugs on the back for its display and its power. While on this one, you got the screen. There's a battery in there and the computing parts also. And again, another kind of like I just mentioned, video output compared to it'll have video output in this. You just don't see it. It's outputting internally into the screen. Kind of a no-brainer, but consoles almost all the time going to be meant to sit somewhere and stay there for its entire life. While a handheld console, it's handheld. You can carry it around. It will continue to work just the same. Graphical capabilities, definitely um kind of just a general rule in technology. If it's smaller and, comparing it at the same time era, same generation of technology, smaller equals less powerful. You just can't fit as many little bits of technology into something smaller. So this is a lot more powerful than this. They're also, yes, also coming back to the parts of the system. This is powered by a wall outlet. This is powered by a battery. This is powered by like an internal permanent battery, as compared to like replaceables, double and triple A's, because it came out after those became less relevant for video game things. Now, a lot of what I said about a console, it need to be stationary, connected to a wall, and a display. A lot of that rings true for personal computers or PCs also. So I also wanted to put a divide between these two categories. PC is going to have a lot more multimedia functions. That's where web browsers are usually made for PCs. A lot of different applications are made for PCs. You can theoretically like jailbreak a console and get it to run other programs. But why would you do that when there's PCs exist that have stuff way more optimized for them? And there's also a difference between when you buy a console, it's the whole package. Every bit of technology that you need to run a game is already packed into the console. PC, you gotta you can buy pre-built PCs, and you can buy PCs that are like put together and they're not going to be coming apart. You can't like customize them at all. But the latter are not usually gaming PCs. They're usually workstation, crappy Dell, HP stuff. They make gaming PCs too, but I don't acknowledge them. Actual PCs, as this not very high resolution image shows, you have all these different parts working together. That's how it works inside a console too, but like I can plug this out really not well, I mean pretty quick, especially like these little bits here, these little sticks, you can plug them out real quick, pop in different ones, and as long as you don't put like really crappy parts into it, it should just run fine. Also, you usually get them from different brands, like whole different companies. Consoles also have parts inside them from different companies, but you don't know. You wouldn't know that unless I told you or you looked it up. You don't notice it at all. It's not relevant to your user experience. Putting all these parts together, very relevant to the user experience. It takes a while to source it all, put it together, check to make sure everything's compatible, that good stuff. It's also a difference in graphical capabilities, not as much as like consoles and handhelds, that kind of gap. That's usually like handhelds are like 2 generations or at the best a generation behind. PCs, they definitely get more powerful, but most game developers make games for consoles. They want to make sure they run on the consoles. So they're not gonna like overstep. Usually, you got your Crysises and your original Far Cries that are like you can't get this running on a console at this era. But usually there's not going to be like a full generation gap between PCs and consoles. But when a new console comes out, it's usually comparable to like a mid-ish new PC, and then PCs quickly overtake them with power. And that leads into the next point. Consoles have pretty long generations, especially for the technology sphere. Historically, console generations could be as short as like 5 years. These days, they usually last about 7 or 8. While PCs, the closest thing you would call a generation with a PC is this part right here, the graphics processing unit, GPU. It it dictates what about 80% of how powerful your computer is going to be for gaming. And they have generations of about 2 years. So that's the closest you could consider generations for game PCs. But the CPU, central processing unit, what's under this, also has an effect on power. And they come out, depend on the company, they can come out as short as like a little bit over a year generations. So overall, you have these rapid developments that aren't on the same time cycle. So usually within months, there's going to be a new thing that makes your computer more powerful. Most people aren't going to, buy every single thing that makes their computer more powerful, but theoretically, the most powerful PC is going to be adapting a lot faster than consoles would. Most powerful consoles. Because of these technology cycles, new technologies are generally, in like 99.999% of the time, going to hit PCs first before consoles catch up with them. The example I have here is storage, internal storage with hard drives, these, and solid state drives, these. So the 8th generation of consoles started in 2012 legally, but I'm just going to skip to 2013. When those consoles came out, they came with hard drive disks, these, a physical disk spinning, and your load times for them would be about, like, let's say you're hitting like start game or continue on the home screen, it'll load it in 20 seconds to a minute if it's like a really long game. And they didn't get these solid state drives until the next generation, the 9th generation in 2020. But in the middle of the 8th generation, around 2016, solid state drives became the standard for new PCs. There's no movie bits in here, it's all electronic, moves data way faster. Load times are like 5 seconds to 20 seconds usually, I have found. So that hit PCs first. Hit PCs way before 2016, but 2016 is when they became like kind of like the transition of if you're still using a hard drive disk in a PC, what are you doing? Nowadays, it's like new games say you must have a solid state drive as the minimum requirements. Yeah, that's an example of something like a completely different architecture of technology. Um, not being able to get to consoles because no one's going to release a new console, like a brand new generation consoles in the middle of a generation. That's just not how they work. So getting to the actual timeline I have here, we're going to start off with, ah, these slides took a little longer than I expected. We're going to start off with avoiding them for now and pausing here. Yep.